Hello and welcome back to another episode of Fishbowl Tales. We're picking up right where we left off in last week's episode, but for an entirely different reason. This week, we're going to be building the upper and lower radiator tubes. Not only does this crossbar that we installed last week serve as a piece of structure in the engine bay, it also is going to serve as a mounting point for our upper coolant pipe. You can see behind me, I've got a couple of mandrel bends already in place, mocked up. I've got a whole box full of them. We're gonna go ahead and fabricate the upper and lower pipes today. You can see that it's a damn near straight shot from the outlet of the motor to the inlet of the radiator. The reason I'm going the long route and running everything across our crossbar is so I can manage to miss everything with the piece of intake piping needed to get to the intercooler. So my starting point is going to be at the inlet to the radiator. We're going to come out of that with a 45-degree bend. We're going to come up to the bar with another 45-degree bend and run it nice and parallel. I've already marked this piece out with a Sharpie and a piece of tape. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, see how everything fits up, and weld this together. This whole process is going to be super simple. We're not doing any kind of crazy pie cuts. We're simply cutting the tube off nice and square on the end and welding everything back together. I have our first section of radiator pipe mocked up in the engine bay and it's looking really nice. I've got the seam just held together with a piece of masking tape, and what I'm going for here is kind of an inconspicuous look. I want to try to hide all of this radiator piping behind our crossbar. Let me give you guys a better view so you can see what I'm talking about. From this angle, you can really see how well that crossbar hides the radiator tube. This section's just about ready to weld up, so I'm going to take it into the shop, weld it up, and we'll get started on the engine side. So I've got the radiator side all welded up. Fits in there really nice. Everything came out just like I want it to. Now we're going to move on to the engine side. And the first order of business is going to be to drop that 90-degree bend down so that the center of the tube lines up with the center of our crossbar. Gave it a little haircut. I think that's just about perfect. Time to make the rest of it. concludes that. Definitely not the sexiest welds in the world, but hey, it's stuck together. The first pipe is done. Look at that. What a friggin' beauty. Let's check it out from the outside. Yeah, I couldn't be happier with the way that turned out. That's really awesome. Alright guys, well I'll be back in the morning to finish up the lower radiator pipe. Alright folks, welcome to day 2 of the coolant pipe build. Now some of you keen observers might have noticed in yesterday's video that we have no way to put any coolant in the system. And I'm one step ahead of you guys. Check this out. So I have got this absolutely beautiful Vibrant Performance billet radiator filler neck and radiator cap. All of this is going to be mounted on that upper pipe because it is the highest point in our cooling system and it'll allow any air that's in the system to get burped out. Now if you're looking at all of this and thinking there is no possible way you're going to be able to fill that thing with coolant because there's just not enough space to get a funnel and a jug of coolant in here, it looks like it's going to be really tight, and you're half right because it is really tight. There's only about enough room to get my head in here. But inside of the engine bay we have enough height to get a whole gallon jug in here, and we can get it tipped almost all the way upside down to fill this thing up with coolant. Progress is being made over here. Take a look at that. Oh man. So I've got the filler neck welded onto a short section of aluminum tube. I cope the tube so that it fits our 2-inch main pipe. Now all I have to do is cut the hole in our main pipe and weld this piece in, and we'll be just about finished with the upper tube. Well, there's one section of the project complete. Now for the cherry on top. Oh, look at that. Now I still have one more piece to weld into this upper tube. Let me show you what it is. This incredibly hard to find, rather expensive little chunk of cast iron is called a wax valve. It allows us to mechanically control the speed of our hydraulic cooling fan via coolant temperature. It operates on the same principle as a thermostat in a regular passenger car. There's an element inside of this wax valve that will melt and allow a valve to open up. When that valve opens up, it'll allow full pressure from our hydraulic pump to run through our hydraulic fan motor. Now I was a little bit worried that the thread on this wax valve was going to be a metric thread pitch. Lucky for us, it's 1 1/16 12 TPI, which is the standard AN and JIC -12 fitting. So I'm going to jump online and buy a weld-in bung versus taking the time and all of the headache to machine the part. So I was just doing an inventory on the remaining parts that I have to finish up this cooling system, and I could have sworn that I ordered 3 aluminum 2-inch 90-degree bends, and I guess I didn't, because I just searched the shop for about a half an hour trying to find it, and it is nowhere to be found. So I had to go back and reference the packing slip, and lo and behold, I only ordered 2. So I'm not going to be able to finish up the lower coolant pipe this week. I'm going to have to get those parts ordered, and we'll have to jump back on it next week. But there is plenty to do in the meantime. We still have to get everything from the radiator all the way over to the motor before we even need that bend. So let's get started on that fabrication. I'll show you guys what's going on. What you're looking at here is the coolant inlet for the motor. Down below it is a piece of 2-inch straight tube that I have running from the radiator over to the inlet. You can see we have a little bit of distance between the two that we need to make up for. And I need to weld a steel 90-degree bend on this fitting here so we can clear the frame rail and the cross member. Right now, I'm underneath the bus, mocking up the lower radiator pipe. I have 2 tubes set in place here. The shorter tube with the blue piece of masking tape is the exit of our radiator. The upper tube is set up on 2 jack stands in the position where I want it to run when we're all said and done. I'm going to jog that distance up to the upper tube using 2 45-degree bends. Alright friends, the sun is going down on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. The neighborhood's nice and quiet, and I've made a ton of progress on the upper and lower coolant pipes. Let me show you guys what I've got going on. Our lower coolant pipe is just about finished. I added in those 2 45-degree bends to jog the tube up, so it's tucked up inside of there like that, and I added a 3-foot extension to it to get it over to the other side of the bus. Over here, I've got the aluminum tube just running long for now. Up here at the inlet to the water pump, I need to weld on a 90-degree bend, and down on the bottom on that aluminum tube, I need to add in another 90-degree bend to join the 2 pieces together. On our upper coolant pipe, back in this corner, I need to weld in the weld-in bung for our wax valve. That's about all for today. Once I have all of those parts and pieces in hand, we'll get this thing finished up.